In our days, there is a prevailing idea that modern science is set against faith and as a result affects its relationship with the Christian Orthodox tradition. Indeed, how is it possible for science, which is so up-to-date and dynamically opens new avenues for the future, to go hand in hand with tradition, which seems to be stagnant and old-fashioned? And how can science, which encompasses profound knowledge and undisputable proofs, to walk along with faith, which focuses on the mystery that is inscrutable and not rationally proven? The first one deals with the nature of beings, the second with the reasons, the logi of beings. The first one examines what is naturally perceivable and logically proven, whereas the second one what truly exists but is beyond words and understanding and can only be inwardly experienced by faith. Contemporary science has managed to make possible the impossible. Its achievements sound like miracles. Just only in the last century, namely in 1953, the DNA double helix was discovered. In 1968, the first heart transplantation took place. In 1978, artificial insemination was accomplished. On April 13, 2003, the mapping of the human genome was completed. On March 2013, the existence of the Higgs boson was confirmed. And finally, on February 11, 2016, the discovery of gravitational waves was announced. In the meantime, the explosion of informatics and computer sciences inoculated an everyday life with terms such as cybersurgery, nanotechnology, internet, Facebook, tweeting, etc., totally unknown a few years ago. At the same time, the theory of evolution is being promoted, and issues such as artificial life, cloning, mechanistic interpretations of mental functions, theories of everything, trapping and storing of antimatter, the CERN experiment, and the so-called transhumanism are being discussed widely. There is a fast-spreading viewpoint that the foundation of the world created and provided for by God is collapsing. When interpreting the world, the person of God is fading away and is being replaced by the word randomness and the historical structure of religion by the imposing construction of scientific triumph. It seems that scientific thought is being directed by the belief that since God cannot be proven, he does not exist. Religions struggle hopelessly to prove their necessity in the modern scientific world. Do the Orthodox Christian theology and tradition have to say something about all this? I will begin by reading a true story written by Dr. Stylianos Antonarakis, professor of genetic medicine at the University of Geneva, which is included in the prologue of the Greek edition of the famous book by Francis Collins, The Language of God. He states, a young student of medicine poses his existential questions to the middle-aged elder of the monastery of Great Meteoron in Greece. The stillness and alluring atmosphere of the night, the exquisite frescoes of the chapel, the presence of the enlightened elder, and the young man's sincere quest for the truth transform the conversation into a contract of life. Elder, up to which point do we hunt knowledge? He asks. Up to the extreme limit, until the truth is revealed, the elder responded. And if ultimately this truth is set against God, if it reveals that God does not exist, elder responds, if God exists, then he is not threatened by our research. However, if he does not exist, then it is good to know about it. The Orthodox tradition seeks the experience of the presence of God. It was never preoccupied with the question of his existence. God can be experienced, therefore he exists. Moreover, he is partakeable, he is true. A God who cannot be communed of, it is a questionable God. Obviously, modern science and Orthodox tradition seem to follow opposing paths, or at least incompatible approaches. In my presentation, however, I will try to prove that their relationship, although uneasy, is very profound. A basic element of the created world, which springs from divine wisdom, is harmony. One can witness harmony rather than understand it. It is more perceivable and less comprehensible. It offers a satisfying feeling to our senses, but not a satisfactory interpretation to our mind. In the world we find not only one color, one frequency, or one species. There exists no photographical likeness or monotonous symmetry. There is instead an easing asymmetry, a beauty of difference, a balanced diversity, and a harmonious variety. This multiplicity is the melody and the harmony of the universe. It underlines the importance of complementarity, and it reveals the uniqueness of each person. Diversity is a feature of the natural world. Its cause and numerical expression surpass man's understanding and go beyond the limits of the human mind. In the universe, we speak of billions of galaxies that have many likenesses but no sameness. Not one is the same of any other. Every galaxy has billions of stars that in turn have a wide spectrum of properties, color, age, characteristics, different types of chemical composition, and nuclear content. In molecular chemistry, we meet a whole host of elements. As we penetrate into the depths of the subatomic world, we meet a great many elementary particles, each of which has its role and fulfills its distinct purpose. Some of those are material, such as quarks and leptons. Others are carriers of the forces, while others are much heavier, the superparticles, and seem to complete the requisite symmetry. In the plant and animal kingdoms, one also sees a similar state of affairs. A huge number of species, each with its own characteristics, and its genetic complexity and variety, contributes to and adorns the world in a unique way. Likewise, some tens of thousands of genes combine to give morphological characteristics and to determine the dynamics of the health of every person. The numbers that express the genetic diversity are inconceivable. The power of diversity emerges also from the fact that we are all so different. Each person has 23 pairs of chromosomes, and at the fusion of a sperm and an ovum, 23 square different pairs can be formed. These, when combined per 23, form an incredible genetic mix that produces 10 to the 40th power independent possibilities. This means that two parents could give birth to 10 to the 40th power different children. That means that no two alike human beings exist, nor will they ever exist. Although we observe all of the above, yet we are unable to understand their dimensions or distances, their history, sizes, or causes. Numbers above 10 to the 10th power, namely more than 10 billion, cannot fit in the human mind. In order to count the Earth's population, that amounts to almost 7.5 billion of people, we need about 235 years by counting one every second. When referring to the universe, we speak about sizes up to 10 to the 87th power. This is how big it is volume. Its volume in cubic millimeters. Every effort to grasp these numbers is futile. When we talk about time, we refer to 10 to the minus 43 seconds. This number, the so-called Planck's time, defines the most remote moment from this very day and the closest moment to the Big Bang. A short time equal to the one that is required so that the light, which covers the distance between Earth and Moon within a second, travels a distance equal to the diameter of a proton. We can neither conceive the great sizes nor the small ones. Ultimately, the accuracy of all these numbers is rather indicative, statistical, and frequently asymptotic, and cannot be always numerically or logically proven. But even if it is proven, comprehending these sizes is practically impossible. Our created world can be observed, but cannot be fully understood and conceived. In this wonderful but strange world, opposites coexist, big and small, comprehensible and incomprehensible, knowledge and unknowability, magnificence and pettiness, good and evil, unity and dissimilarity. Some speak about the theory of everything, yet they declare that we are a distribution of nothing. We speak about theories of supersymmetry, yet the theories which we adopt with confidence nowadays go under the names of relativity and uncertainty. We believe that we are decoding the genetic secrets, yet we are unable to combat our great and small biological enemies. We may well be able to discover the secrets of our theories and describe our very first beginning or end, or the details of the microcosm and macrocosm, yet we fail to deal with present-time reality. By using the conceptual tool, or what is very small and infinitesimal in terms of time, we may be close to see the origins of the world and describe the vastness of the universe, yet we succeed in making mountains out of molehills in our everyday life. It seems that the more we draw near to its heart, the more nature likes to withhold its secrets. We are nearing the point of the beginning of the world. We are just 10 to the minus 43 seconds away from the Big Bang. And before we can seize upon this moment, our equations collapse and we are left with a so-called singularity. The Big Bang portrays our ignorance, states the famous Greek physicist John Iliopoulos. We chase after the edges of the universe and we realize that the closer we approach, the faster they are drawing away from us, according to Hubble's law. The more our knowledge of the world increases, the more it reveals our expanding unknowability. This is also expressed with the uncertainty principle. We designate with accuracy a certain quality of nature, and at the same time we make an error on a respective one. The same applies to the universe. We carry on researching into it and we find black holes, dark matter and energy, hidden symmetry, unknown particles, strange entities to which we give names that pertain to the metaphysical. Strange quark, God's particle, magic numbers, mystery of the universe, etc., and which conceal the most beautiful secrets. The world becomes very alluring, but is revealed to be tragically isolating. The great constants of physics have values that justify our existence as human beings, the anthropic principle, but necessarily lead to our isolation as beings. The universe is enormous and speeds are inseparably low. The speed of light, the greatest speed there is, the speed of communication, is at once both unsurpassable and finite. We can hear, can receive stimuli, we can speak, we can send messages, but we cannot develop a cosmic communication within this enormous universe. We can only see with our telescopes 4% of the entire universe. The remaining 23% is dark matter, and 73% is dark energy. And this is where the secret of our world, natural world, lies. We know so little, and there is so much more that we are unaware of. Under specific conditions, physics and geometry are expressed with ways that conflict with our senses. Reality resembles more with fantasy. In the large scale of the universe, space is being curved and the Euclidean geometry collapses. In the very small and infinitesimal scale, space acquires multiplicity and natural dimensions, perhaps 7 in total, entirely unknown and strange to our natural perception. In extra high velocities, time is expanded, length is contracted, and our natural senses are infringed. In the dimensions of the nanoscale that can be technologically processed, matter presents completely unusual qualities. However, while we work miracles with technology, even in the area of biosciences, new diseases appear and old still remain incurable. One more glance at our world persuades us that its truth and beauty coexist with imperfections, disabilities, decay, and death. After the death of a star, from its remnants new stars are born. Along with supersymmetry in the early universe, as big as 10 to the minus 33 centimeters in diameter, or 10 to the minus 36 seconds from the Big Bang, there is a great asymmetry in the world that we perceive with our senses and that constitutes our home. The universe, despite its luminous stars, is very dark, with very few photons. Despite its high temperatures, it is very cold, just 2.7 of the Kelvin scale. Despite its immeasurable stellar systems, it seems actually empty, dominated by cosmic vacuum. Despite the unending movement of the galaxies, it looks static. The incomprehensibility of the cosmos results in the fact that some people try to armor their philosophical beliefs with scientific theories which actually have a metaphysical nuance. Moreover, they hide them within words beyond the universe, behind unverified interpretations and incomprehensible speculation with scientific glamour. They love to overstress supersymmetries or speak about multi-universes, imaginary theories, and exaggerated exponents of their quantitative estimations. Although they claim that they accept only what is proven, in reality they demand others to have faith in their theories. It seems that while the prestige of science is great, the allure of philosophical arbitrariness is stronger. In expounding the latest theories, scientists are anxious to speak of perfection and completeness of interpretations. Nevertheless, science, in its effort to enrich our knowledge of the created world, is led to the awareness of its inability to comprehend it. Apart from nature, it seems that our biological identity is also a mystery difficult to decipher. We open the book of the code of life, the sequence of DNA, and we find out that we cannot read it. We deal with numbers that we cannot comprehend and with probabilities that cannot be confirmed. we learn more about the genome in the hope that we're discovering the truth of our genetic identity, and we are led to the proteome, which confirms our greater ignorance. Before we can even get to grips with one alphabet, we are forced to learn an even more difficult language. As some forms of life disappear, more developed ones emerge. Within the genetic treasure of the human cell, even in the so-called junk DNA, precious secrets are hidden that play a very significant role in the hereditary process and the determination of the biological characteristics of each individual. Contemporary scientific fields, such as neurophysiology and neurobiology, lead to the conclusion that the organ of the mental functions is actually unknown. We neither understand the mechanisms of the brain nor the dynamics of understanding. It seems that the real universe is the one of our unknowability, in which, however, we can enjoy scattered stars and galaxies, namely viewpoints and theories of an impressive yet partial knowledge seen in a mirror dimly. Moreover, philosophical theories are also unable to help us understand how the long life of the universe can coexist with man's extremely short lifespan, or the wisdom and beauty of the cosmos with destructiveness, or human grandeur with pettiness, or love and kindness with evil. The fact that we live as human beings thinking, yet with limited knowledge, intellectually developed, yet physically weak, full of life, yet constantly chased by death, with an innate metaphysical quest, yet totally unable to discover what is beyond our logic, indicates that it is not only nature that is a mystery, but the created human being as well. It seems that a human being is much more than a biological cell system. The variety of choices every man makes, his characteristic otherness, the uniqueness of his psychology, the creativity of his intellect, and the formation of his personhood are much more than results of mere anatomic constructions and detectable biochemical processes. The biological beginning bears the weight of the onset of personhood, while the end refers to an unknown continuation in a higher state of being. The realization of the grandeur and uniqueness of each human being hints at his unending life and the sense of his eternal perspective. In that respect, the if, how, and when of the beginning and end of the life of every person is also of utmost importance for the Orthodox Church. In our modern age, we have the technology for preventing and terminating a pregnancy, and therefore we can determine whether someone will be conceived, that is, if he will come into being, and whether in the end he will be born, that is, if he will live. Our age can alter at will the form and the characteristics of life. It can also delay death, relieve pain, and be invasive by using advanced technology, and thus create new forms of life and novel conditions of dying. It can create the possibility of a vast number of choices. Nevertheless, it poses novel questions that cannot be answered and provokes new dilemmas that modern society tries in vain to undermine. The debate on the exact moment of the onset of life, on the status of the cryopreserved embryos, on how our soul is connected with our body, on what is the ontology of the soul and what is death, although it is so exciting, does not reach any positive conclusions. Its consequences are tremendous, since at times they either lead to a logic justifying eugenics or euthanasia on seemingly ethical criteria, or even to accuse the traditional code of ethics as very harsh and undesirable, even as non-ethical. On the basis of the pseudo-knowledge of the unknown, and self-assurance of arbitrary conclusions, the world of ethics and values becomes truly distorted. The exact moment of the beginning or end of human life is not a mere scientific matter. It cannot be defined with exact terms. Legal statements, social declarations, political decisions, or statistics and numbers. The how and why of human life is an inscrutable mystery. The same applies to death. For these reasons, we do not view life as a right that belongs to us, but we respect it as a mystery that transcends us. I will move now more to theology. Everything attests that the created natural and material world shows very little but hides a great deal. It combines the beauty of the known with the fascination of the unknown. Moreover, the explosion of knowledge and informatics leads to the conclusion that on the cosmic scale we are very insignificant, extremely alone, and our lifespan is all too short. The greatest speed of communication, the breathtaking speed of light, is finite, while the universe is inconceivably vast. That makes this extraordinary speed to be actually extremely low. While according to Aristotle we are social beings, we are destined to live so lonely in the universe. While according to the same ancient Greek philosopher, all men by nature desire to know, we are compelled to remain within limited knowledge. The inadequacy of science as well as of our technology thus becomes apparent. On the other side, there is a strong scientific hint that there are other dimensions of existence, knowledge, and truth which transcend us. And this is where human magnificence can be found. This may be one of the most crucial implications of modern science. We are so different and special within the universe. We are unique. We have logos in terms of reasoning, of our intellectual and thinking abilities, as well as in terms of the ability to express ourselves articulately. Nature and the material universe do not possess logos in the aforementioned sense. Still, we can observe rationality in the workings of both. The heavens declare the glory of God, and the firmament shows his handiwork, we read in the Psalter. This cosmic rationality can be approached scientifically, while its truth is better revealed spiritually. Today, we use terms in physics such as supersymmetry, superstrings, superuniverses, in our effort to reach what is beyond perceivable symmetry, beyond the universe, beyond human senses and logic. Likewise, in the Church, the prefix super is used quite often to express what is beyond our mind and understanding, and to stress the existence of a world that is above nature and beyond all scientific super terms. For instance, to describe the grace of the Theotokos and the theology of the Theotokos, we use the word hypereυλογημένη, literally super blessed or most blessed. For the otherworldliness of the angelic powers, the term hyperkosmios, namely supramundane, beyond the natural world. For the magnificence of God, the word hyperousios, supersubstantial, he who is above all being, or even hypertheos, super God. Nevertheless, oftentimes, modern scientists are fixated on proving their self-sufficiency, and therefore they question the existence or disregard the presence of God, the reason probably being that they try to compete with him on the level of power. They do not want an almighty God, rather they favor an all-powerful man. That is why they look for values that, according to their opinion, can stand better without a God. As mentioned in the beginning of this presentation, Orthodox tradition, faith, and theology are not concerned with the question of the existence of God, but with that of His revealed and experienced presence. Science fails to prove either the existence or the non-existence of God. Every attempt to prove His existence is pointless. God is an inscrutable mystery. Therefore, it is better to question His presence spiritually than to try to prove His existence rationally or scientifically. A God whose existence or non-existence can be logically proven does not exist. He is not the God. God as on, He who is, appears to be unapproachable to creation. We look for Him and He hides Himself. He is not partakeable in His essence. His existence is unprovable. On the contrary, God as He who is present, or paron, is a friend and father to creation. He reveals Himself and is partakeable in His uncreated energies. His presence can be experienced and His nature can be communed of. Augustine proclaimed that we can see God with our mind or intellect, nous, since our nous is akin to Him, and thus he led Western thought on a fruitless quest to comprehend the incomprehensible. On the other hand, the fathers of the Eastern Church maintain that we can transcend the limitations of our created nature only through the Holy Spirit. God combines both that which is comprehensible and that which is not. By using the term mystery, Orthodoxy proclaims to the modern world that we know a lot less than we ignore, that what we comprehend is very little in regards to what is incomprehensible, and that apart from the affirmative course towards knowledge, there is also the apophatic course, namely to know by accepting our unknowing. According to Dionysius Areopagitis, to attain true vision and knowledge is to see and know by not seeing and unknowing Him who is above vision and knowledge. And as St. John of Damascus says, one thing is comprehensible, the incomprehensibility of God. Consequently, it seems that incomprehensibility either of the natural world or of the divine reality does not necessarily imply limitation to true knowledge. God, as experienced in the life of the Orthodox Church, is of course transcendent in His power, although He is transcendent mainly in His wisdom and love. He is supersubstantial, He is all-perfect. He remains not distant from us, but always self-emptying for us. He does not punish us, but is Himself crucified. It is not that we die and He lives, but that He dies in time for us to live eternally. He does not express His love to us by arrogantly demonstrating His power, but by offering us the possibility of partaking in His uncreated energies and love. God is not an opponent that science should either ignore or extinguish, but rather He is the God of love that science must on all accounts discover. It is true that to a certain degree, God can be communed through scientific knowledge. However, He reveals His wisdom and His truth mainly to the lowly in heart. He conceals it from the arrogant. The way towards knowledge of the unlimited divine truth is the acceptance of our limited intellectual ability. As Socrates claims, I neither know nor think that I know. All I know is that I know nothing, and concludes that it is better to have honest ignorance than self-deceptive knowledge. There are values that derive from our knowledge. However, there are values that spring from the way we reconcile ourselves with our limitations. The awareness of our ignorance the still vision of our inner desert, namely the deep humbleness, constitute an excellent way so as to experience the unknown and incomprehensible mystery of the world in which we live. The scientific way hides within it an air of despair, because while it is enchanting and stimulating, it creates a false anticipation. Even though we think that we can wholly comprehend the created world, finally we are led to accept our own limits. The possibility of fully discovering the natural world is blocked. Ultimately, we can achieve a lot less than we wish to. On the contrary, the humble stance of the Eastern Orthodox theology before the secret mystery of God allows for our personal partaking in the revelation of the divine light. Communion with God is not a personal achievement that we can be proud of, but it is a divine revelation and gift that you have to be grateful for. An Orthodox faithful does not ask from God, who continually empties himself, to reveal himself. He does not hope for a reward, neither does he have any special requests. In this way, he is offered greater knowledge, more than he can imagine or expect. He is granted new knowledge, other experience, in quotation marks, strange sight. God is revealed to him as a person. Science can elevate man to the higher step of knowledge, to the humble realization of his natural and intellectual limits. Theology can take man from this point and introduce him to the holy altar of divine revelation. Modern science leads us straight to the truth of the apophatic Orthodox theology. God has no relation with proofs, logical proofs, or with discoveries. God is revelation. One more thing, science is for some people. God is for everyone, even for those who think that they can take his place, even for those who wish to comprehend him. He is the God of believers and non-believers, of brilliant scientists and simple people, of prominent theologians and unknown ascetics. Combining faith with scientific logic seems to be an uneasy way. However, if you finally succeed to bring them together, you will discover a unique and profound relationship. Thank you.